Uni Rugby presents HonestRugbyChat by Cameron Petrie, and this is episode 6, and we are here with the usuals. William.
Happy New Year to all our listeners.
Ali.
Hello, evening again.
Right, so there's plenty of rugby to dig into, but we've actually had some questions in this. Oh yeah, I probably should say Happy New Year, and I hope everyone had a great Christmas as well. Got a bit hectic over that period, and that period between Christmas and New Year seems to become a blur. So apologies for no podcast. But anyway, let's get straight into the rugby. We had some questions, didn't we, William and Ali? We had some questions.
Yes, we did.
From our ginormous audience. And the first one came off Twitter from, what was the chap's name again? Oliver McGrath. And he's asked, how does one pronounce... Oh, here we go. Chris Cloete's surname. I probably pronounced that wrong. So I want, guys, opinions. How do you pronounce... I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah, I thought it was Cloete, but I've also heard Cloete. So I'm going to go with Cloete.
I was going to actually try Cloete. This is based on the presumption that his name is not pronounced as it's said, especially given that he is South African. So they raise the intonations for those. So Cloete. They usually do split up TE.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking that as he is South African. I think Williams does make sense. Even in English, obviously you pronounce it different. So hopefully we've answered that. And then this is a major talking point: are London Irish doomed? Well, yes.
The discussion, haven't we, in our production meetings about the twos and wheres of London Irish's situation.
It's an interesting one. They've actually some sort of hot off the press news today. They've actually signed 2 Springboks to try and bolster their ranks. Although they're not any particularly big names,
but they're good players though.
Ali, that's going to make you happy, isn't it? more South Africans coming over.
Mate, yeah, just keep draining that country. Don't worry about it.
Oh gosh, I saw it again. I thought of you straight away. And my friend Jake, who's South African, he's just giving up now. Like,
it's still, yeah. I think I've said it before. I won't go into too much detail, but we need to stop milking South Africa. Sometimes they're dry, really.
Oh well, South Africa especially. I mean, they're down to 4 teams now in the Super Rugby, and I think they have to go down to 2 soon. Are Irish doomed anyway? Does anyone want to lead that one?
The Irish doomed. Are they? Yes, they are. They are doomed. I think the chance. Well, it actually went when the 2 met, and we must have beat London Irish, and that was always going to be difficult because it was at Worcester, and just truth be told, that there wasn't really much coming from Irish. They don't offer anything in attack, and the thing at Worcester is, which we must give them credit, they beat Leicester, and they actually really got at Saracens, something we'll talk about later, but they scored tries. And through other players apart from just Josh Adams as well. I really think it's important to say that. I mean, obviously, Adams has been great, and he should get a lot of credit, but they can create opportunities and score tries. That's what they're 10 points clear now. Yeah. Probably that gap actually will extend thanks to either losing or try bonus points. And I think Irish have been dead in the water for some time. I don't see where they can get their win from, regardless of fixture.
Yeah, I am definitely with William on that. They just don't look like winning. They're in a rut, and I don't see where the next result's coming from, apart from if it's Worcester. And as we said, Worcester, in 6 ways put them to the sword. It's a shame because they got some quality operators within the team, and I think Nick Kennedy knows his stuff, but it's just for whatever reason it just hasn't. I think the reason is the V Premiership's a very tough league, and you don't get an easy game. Worcester are second bottom. I think they've got some outstanding players like Josh Adams. You've got Francois Houcard. They're a real quality outfit. I think that's that question answered. Would you chaps agree? Ali, got any input you want to put in on that or not?
I just probably go a little bit deeper on what William said about them not really having any real attack. I think their biggest problem is the fly half situation. They've got James Marshall there, who for I think most of his career at the Hurricanes was an outside back, and he's come in as a fly half, and he just doesn't really look like he's got enough to run and attack to stay in the Premiership. He's lethal, ball in hand himself. He's very good, but it just doesn't look like he's organising enough around him. I think Worcester and Irish are just another team that would step up, leaps and bounds if they had a quality fly half to run things. A lot of the time, it seems to be give the ball to Lewington or Cokanasiga and see if they can work their magic.
Yeah, I think Ali's said that fantastically there. They've got players like Lewington. Lewington, I think he's a fantastic winger. I think he'd get into most. I think he'd push on most sides in the Prem. And I hate saying his name, Cokanasiga. I think I got that. Almost. Oh gosh. Again, the potential of that kid's massive as well. And how old is he now, Cokanasiga? Is he 21?
20.
He's only 20 still. He's got years ahead. So. But as we know, one or two players aren't enough, and it always starts with halfbacks. The game dies and starts with with halfbacks. You've got to have a consistent partnership there, all guys who can operate the game well. And I think your point of saying he's not an out-and-out 10 is huge as well. And to play in the Prem, I guess he looks comfortable, but there's surely guys out there who are more comfortable, especially in the position Irish are in now. I think they need an out-and-out 10. Okay, well, I think that's that question answered. And then we've got, he also asked, Oliver asked, in the Pro 14, okay, here we go. Is it fair to say that the standard of rugby, both from technical and watchable perspectives, in the Pro 14 has now surpassed the Premiership, the Viva Premiership, by some margin? As we're all English here, I think this is going to be quite an interesting discussion. Because, yeah, go on. Who wants to start?
See, I'll get in there quickly because I don't tend to watch much Pro 14. I don't tend to have time to, but Pro 14 times I find they have so much potential to play brilliant rugby, but they only seem to step up in certain matches. So across the board, I'd say the Premiership rugby is still a higher standard because it just seems in the Pro 14 they pick and choose too much when they're actually going to, put up their best sides and really give it a go. But then again, as I said, I don't watch too much of the Pro 14, so we take that with a pinch of salt.
William, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I do. I'm personally of the opinion that I think the Premiership has improved a lot in recent seasons, partly because of spending, but also partly because I think of the link up between the national team and the clubs. I think this de facto policy of only English players being picked, and also the central contracts, which are that they're pretty strong in terms of monetary value, even I say rivaling the top 14, which remember again, you go and you won't get picked. Meaning that a lot of players are staying at their clubs, they're keeping together and they're forging test match level partnerships at their clubs, and that form has been carried through. For instance, look at George Ford and Ben Youngs at Leicester when they play well, when they get going. Look at Watson and Joseph at Bath. Look at several Wasps players. They're supplying 7 players to the squad. Saracens too, as well, because even though all the back line gets selected, there are ex-England players, there are also test-level players, and what you get now actually is a very sort of highly concentrated league, where they tend to use the first 15 more often than not. because again, a lot of top Celtic players can be wrapped in cotton wool, and it's a good strategy for them because they are experienced players, some of whom needs minding, and it works clearly. Look what the Irish are doing. So I wouldn't say it's become vastly superior. In fact, if anything, I would say the two are probably about equal, in the same way the test match sides are about equal, I think, at the moment. I just think with the Pro 14, they're European sides, that they've sort of worked out how to play European rugby. It's been there for a long time. They sort of tend to keep the team together and blood the team a lot. And as such, everybody sort of knows they're focusing only on Europe, and they're very fast starters as well. See the example of Leinster, see the example of Munster, which is a club basically that's just existed, or not just existed for Europe, but has been founded around European history. And this is since the 90s, so you're talking, was it 20 years? Around about it. It's a big ethos there, which I'm sure many of the Celts will understand, I think, better than I.
Yeah, I think you both make valuable points. It's a real hard. I think they're two great leagues, but it's just, for me, it's a bit upsetting when I want to get into the Pro 14 and I see Leinster or Munster, rest the best players for 2 weeks or whatever. In a head-to-head game like Leinster-Munster, I'm pretty sure Leinster had a bunch of main players, not playing because the policy is to protect them, as you say, wrap them up in cotton wool. I feel the Premiership, they go at it hard every week. I feel the competition is a bit more fierce for the Premiership itself. I think teams in the Premiership care more about winning the Premiership than I guess Pro 14 teams do. I've even had Irish friends and people I know within the rugby there who say that they take a back seat with the Pro 14, and because they have such great academies like Leinster do. If they're out of the Champions Cup, then near the end of the season, they'll start playing a stronger side to try and win it, which I find is just completely crazy. Your domestic, your main competition, and you're not trying to win. You're not basically going at it, full out. So.
I don't think they're not trying to win it.
Well, that's an overstatement, but you understand what I'm saying. They're not playing a full-strength team every week, are they?
No. The problem is it's a very delicate pot of priorities for some teams, and you can get sort of situations like the Ospreys have, where it is highly realistic for them, maybe even to win, or not to win, but maybe not to win their group, although we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, Clement's put here, but to go through second, whilst any sort of high-ranking finish in the Pro 14 in their conference has been, long gone. That can happen too, and I think teams do adapt as well.
Well, I agree with that. Look, if you've got no chance of having a decent finish in the league, put all your focus into the European competition or whatever else you're in. I mean, that goes for all sports. But if you've got a good team, I just feel for, at least for the big games, like Munster against Leinster, there was a few. Leinster won, but they could have. I don't know. You want to see the best players playing. Especially if you're a fan and you're paying money to go and watch the league week in, week out as a supporter. I think you want to see the main guys playing. I think with the Viva Premiership you get that. So I guess I feel you get more value for money watching the Viva Premiership. Even though there's some of the talent coming through at the moment from the Irish team is like the fullback who scored that great try at Lamont. That try was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. And Stuart Lancaster was telling everyone that the guys coming through the academy in Leinster is absolutely it's unbelievable the amount of quality they have coming through. So if they still get results, I guess I can't really dig into them that much, can I? Leinster are still second in their conference. Yeah, in the Pro 14, and Munster are second as well. The only thing I will say, it's very interesting how Glasgow are top of the Pro 14, and then they're bottom of their, Champions Cup group. I think that sort of shows, the parallel. And Glasgow are sort of focusing on Pro 14, and they're out of the Champions Cup, which again, vice versa, it goes either way. I don't mind, but I think it shows how maybe I think if the Irish team was going full leather for the Pro 14, I think they'd be above Glasgow. Controversial opinion? I don't know.
It's not controversial. I will say. I will tell you one thing. The Celtic nations, they've had the natural affinity with the competition. I won't go on and on about this, but Celtic nations have quite a long history with what used to be Heineken, now is Challenge Cup, and because it doesn't go on, because it's not quite as intense or not as many hoops to jump through as, say, the Champions League in football, it is something you can target with a hell of a lot of intensity. Something also that you need to probably, if you're to get through and get the home quarter, etc. I think that's what. I think that's sort of a big difference, a big factor. So, because for instance, you take Glasgow. Right. I mean, first of all, Scottish rugby has only just recently, I'd have said, risen to this level, and thanks to a lot of hard work. And those players have improved because they've only had the two franchises, of which Glasgow always was the better. So they haven't had a lot of European experience. Last year was their first year in the quarterfinals, and they were in an even tougher pool this time around.
Yeah, you are right. It is a very tough pool, isn't it? English champions Leinster and Montpellier, who spent a ton of money, and they've got a great coach there with Fern Cotter. I mean, I wouldn't wish that pool upon anyone. Actually, I would. Ospreys. No. But yeah, I think you got to be understanding with Glasgow. But I was just trying to bring, because Exeter could easily be bottom of that. If they catch Glasgow on a really good day and they're not playing as well, they could easily lose a game there. So that's what Champions Cup's about, though. You've got every group Leicester. I know the Prem's not going great for them this year either, but they got good. They're halfbacks, so basically they are England's halfbacks, and they're bottom of the group, below Cast, Racing, and Munster. That's what you want. You want, and I don't even get me started on Northampton. Okay, we've got another question here. So who do you think will qualify for... Me and William have answered this a million times. Who do you think will qualify for basically the Champions Cup quarterfinals and the Challenge Cup quarterfinals? I can run through me and William's answers quickly, and then I definitely wrote them down somewhere. In the meantime, Ali, do you want to go through who you think's going to qualify for the Champions Cup quarterfinals and Challenge Cup? I'm not sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think as it stands, I can't see anyone other than the current pool toppers breaking into those first spots. So I don't think Toulon will outscore Bath. I think it will be Bath, Munster, Leinster, and Claremont. As it stands, they're already at the top four. I think they will go through. And then, how many of the best runners-up come through as well? Can't remember.
I think it's now changed. I believe, and I'm just saying sort of the top of my head because I haven't looked at the rules for a while, but it's not just 2 anymore. I think it is 4.
Oh.
I think it's 4. I think out of 6 pools, there are 6 pools, 4 winners, and...
There's 5 pools. There's 5 pools.
Sorry, 5 pools. So I think it's 3. Then.
Yeah. It's 5 pools and 3 best runners up come through. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, then for me, I think the 3 runners up will probably be Toulon, as they're so close behind Bath. Ooh.
It's tough. It's tough.
I reckon. Yeah, no. I reckon it's going to be Toulon, Montpellier, and I just have a feeling Saracens are going to come out strong, and just.
Ospreys are going to try and blow their head off, though. That's the game of the season. Me and William talked about this last pod.
Do not miss it. I'm not missing it.
Oh, that's going to be unbelievable. I can't wait for that. Dan Evans is going to be running hard lines. I can't wait for that game. If you got them, have you decided, Ali, or not? Are you just...
Yeah. So I see Saracens, Montpellier, and Toulon as the three best runners up behind Bath, Munster, Leinster, and Clermont.
And La Rochelle.
Oh, sorry, La Rochelle, yeah. Yeah,
so me and William went with that as well. Runners up, actually, I'm very... Because Montpellier, I don't trust Montpellier. They've got very good players and a very good coach, but I just don't... I feel they've got a loss in them.
The two things about Montpellier for me. First of all, whilst I won't begrudge their win at Scotstoun, I feel it was less meritorious than Leinster's, precisely because of the madness with Ryan Wilson, self-inflicted yellow card, and then another self-inflicted yellow card. And secondly, no Aaron Cruden and no hope. So if he's not back by the time they go to Sandy, I do not foresee victory. I know that's very much eggs in one basket, but I don't think I know he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, there is some great games coming up in the Champions Cup. I love watching it. It's I think it's as good as Test rugby now, really. At least not too far away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, who am I going to go for? Well, the guys who are top already. So I believe Bath, Munster, Leinster, Clermont, La Rochelle. Oh my gosh, this is tough. I believe Saracens are a quality side, and I believe they'll put Ospreys away. So I'm going to say Saracens. I do not trust Montpellier. I think Exeter will come back again. I think they'll beat Montpellier, but they've still got work to do there. Saracens, Toulon, and oh no, I might say Exeter. That's probably me being biased. I believe Exeter will do. I think they're a really good team. So I'd
like them to. That's my hope. It would be nice to see them in some European playoffs.
Yeah, that's a hell of a tough group though, and they really went for Leinster twice. They were winning 17-3 in the Viva Stadium, and Leinster powered back. Very impressive.
It's a bit unlucky for them though. What with Leinster's match-winning try, really it should have been disallowed.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, still credit to Leinster though for coming back like the way they did though. 17-3 down to the English champions. The Leinster backs moves as well. They play some great rugby. They play some really fantastic rugby. They are a joy to watch. Okay, we got Kit. Is it Kit? William? What's the name? Kit Hutchinson.
Kit Hutchinson, I think.
Okay. As a Saracens fan, a question I've been wondering about is when is Ben Spencer going to come into Eddie Jones' thinking? Well, this develops a discussion itself. Me and my friends, and we don't understand why Eddie Jones has ignored the likes of... I mean, look, I know in the moment Christian Way wouldn't get in the squad anyway, but he was in great form a year ago. And you got Dan Robson. There's so many guys, I think, are quality players that could really do a job for England. Don Armand is another one. I believe he just sort of ignored them. And he's like, right, well, go for like a 16-year-old boy who's got potential to be Dan Carter instead. That was not going to be about Marcus Smith, but that's the sort of thing he does. I think Marcus Smith is phenomenal for his age. Do you guys agree with me, though, how he sort of ignored a bunch of players as he doesn't see them being up to the level of, I guess, world class in his words?
Yeah, I definitely go with that. I definitely think he's seen something that it hasn't convinced him. I've been looking into this a little bit more deeply this week, actually, especially scrum half and back row. So the scrum half department, it's very interesting that he's only picking two. I'm not sure why it's so exclusive to just sticking to Young and Care. Perhaps it's because he really just wants those two in there to focus on getting them sorted. But when he does finally bring someone in, I'm feeling now, as he's left it so late, I can't see it being someone who could be perceived as a risk or unknown. So like a Robson or Ben Spencer, I've got a feeling it's going to be a more experienced head who has either played for England plenty in the past or is just very experienced, very proven. So that's why my gut feeling is that maybe Wigglesworth and Hines will be between those two for the third choice scrum half role the next, if anyone else has to come in.
That's very frustrating for me because I think Robson is a great player. Like every time he's put on that Saxon shirt, he's always played brilliantly. So I don't know. And Spencer's got, those two guys are far more dangerous. And I believe the game management's very underrated as well, and the kicking is. I feel they're both two very complete players. When you know what you're getting from Hines and Wigglesworth, which I think they're both good players as well, but I know which two I would go for. William, you got anything to say on that?
Yeah, there's a good points Ali made as well. I can endorse a great deal of them. One thing to say about Jones, I think he's got a familiarity thing going on. I think even though I don't think he operates actually a full meritocracy. This is not to say he deliberately ignores really good players, but he definitely has an air of familiarity about the squad. One, I think he already wants to take to the World Cup. I think he actually, if you asked him, you got a gun to his head, he could name, I would have said his squad, if they were all fit, the ones he'd take. I think he wants it for several reasons. I think he wants it for familiarity. I think he believes that's very important. It's sort of ethos in terms of the pitch, but also especially in terms of things such as captaincy, on-field communication, etc., etc. This is a lot of the reason why Dylan Hartley plays and starts ahead of Jamie George. And again, not a slight on Hartley, but more an acknowledgement that, is it fair to say George is the best hooker in England?
Well, many world teams of the year, George has been voted the hooker. So you're saying he's the best hooker in England or even the British Isles, I feel is a understatement on George's part. There's not many better hookers out there, really. I can only think of Malcolm Marks, and his lineouts can, they can be very poor on the occasional game as well. When I haven't really, apart from that semi-final last year against Munster, I haven't really seen that side of George. So yeah, it's I think you definitely nailed it on the head there, William. He likes to know his players. He likes the familiarity with them, and I don't want to say he's closed-minded. That'd be very that's a bit harsh from me, but I think he's got his guys, and he knows who they are, and he trusts them. I think it's quite hard for him to. The best, especially at this stage now, we're only a year. Next year the World Cup is. You have to. I think some of the guys have to be playing outstanding to sort of break into the squad now when everyone's fully fit. So anyone else got anything to say on that or not?
Yeah, I think just briefly, you mentioned Don Armand before.
Yeah.
How well he's playing and he's not getting in this. Everybody's asking, why is it not Don Armand? Why is it not him? He's tearing it up in the Premiership.
Relentless.
It seems to me the selection of Gary Graham has kind of finally cemented, in my mind, exactly what Jones wants. Before, I thought he might have been going for a slightly more attacking back row unit with his, when he first included Taman Harrison, Jack Clifford and Tom Curry. Whereas now, really, it looks like, for example, Tom Curry's attacking attributes are kind of just a bonus to his bread and butter workman-like play, because Gary Graham really is. He's a worker. I know they talk a little bit about him being a bit better at running lines in attack, but he just looked like an absolute workhorse from what I've sort of tried to study a little bit. It just looks like Armand. He is so good in attack, and it is so heavily based around his game. I think that's probably why Jones is thinking, well, I'm not really looking for someone who's for my six, who's after the ball to attack loads. I need someone who's going to set the platform for everybody else. Sort of like, because I mean, he has said that he views another six and not a 7 or 8. And if you look at what Robshaw is, what Mark Wilson is, they're just absolute workmen. They just go and go and go and go, and it's not that often they get their hands on the ball and really, let loose.
I think that's a bit harsh on Wilson, because I've watched Falcons a lot, a load this year, and he does make a few line breaks, occasionally, more so than Robshaw, and I'm a huge Robshaw fan, being a Quins fan, but I think Wilson is, he's got a relentless work rate. He does, but I think he's got more to his game than just that. Maybe I'm being a bit, I don't know, but I think England they've got their own sort of back row depth. I believe. I'm just not sure if Jones has really ventured down the path of. I feel Don Armand deserves. I really feel he deserves a call up, but I'm happy with the guys we got in there already. Actually, what do you guys think of? I got one more question, but I thought, what do you guys think of Haskell's inclusion in the squad? Because I know it's a training squad, but he's still being included in it. Got anything?
Again, it's that familiarity thing he has. Also, when he's at his best, he is good enough. Plus, also you have to remember there's a big Ross contingent there, and things such as knowing Launchbury will be very important for scrums, lineups, etc. And Jones is a stickler for key combinations, so I'm not surprised to see he's back in there, especially in a wider training squad.
Yeah. Obviously, some people have been reacting to it as it's the Six Nations squad when it most definitely isn't. But yeah, also I'm happy to see Dunn, the Bath hooker, in there as well. His work rate is unbelievable. How many? I think did he get 34 tackles the other week?
I think 34 and 32 consecutive matches.
Unbelievable numbers. Anyway, before we can continue on the tangent, what role, if any, should Marcus Smith play in the Six Nations? I'm gonna let you guys rip on this one.
No, sorry, you go.
No, I said I'm going to let you guys rip on it. So William or Ali, one of you go first. I mean,
I'll jump in there real quick. I don't think he should play any role at all. I think he's still developing. I don't think you should throw him in yet. I think maybe if you want to, include him in the training camps, but that might take away from his preparation for his Premiership he'll be playing every week. I think just let him carry on with the Premiership. Just maybe have a look at him a little bit, but don't keep him in camp too long, because really you need him developing at Premiership level. I think if you start throwing him in now at international level, it might be just a bit too much and only could be detrimental to his progress.
William, got anything to add to that?
No, actually, he shouldn't see any international action probably until next calendar year, I'd say.
Yep.
I mean, if one thing, right, this isn't slight against Marcus Smith, but if you're going to have Marcus Smith in there, you're going to give Danny Cipriani a chance.
Oh, gosh.
You're also going to give Lazowski a shot at 10, or starting 12, which he is good enough to do, or at least he is going to be by the end of the season.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of... I've seen so many people on Twitter go crazy about the inclusion of Piers Francis. I don't know. It's actually comical. They get so worked up about it. Do you believe his inclusion is fair in the training squad and ahead of guys like Cipriani? I know France is a bit more of a centre than Danny, but...
It's because he's a centre, although I should add he hasn't been the worst player for Northampton, not by a long way. The action, I think Northampton are having big forward problems. Their backs actually have had to carry the can, but it's not that bad a unit, although they miss Alex King a lot.
Yes, his departure seems to have affected them heavily. I I mean, Northampton, we'll come into it later with a bit of Premiership roundup, but yeah, they are in a dire state at the moment. Even I'm not gonna say as bad as Irish because obviously they're not. But for a club like Saints, it's not good times. So I agree with Ali. I think Ali really nailed it again on the head with Marcus Smith. I believe he could develop and learn a lot under Farrell and Ford. I think his learning is the main word there. But week in, week out, Harlequins in the Aviva Premiership, one of the best leagues in the world. That's where he's going to do his real game development is going to take place.
Not to mention, of course, he'll be playing in the Champions Cup at least twice more if he stays fit. And he'll be playing against a Wasp side again, full of internationals. And then I think, they got to go to La Rochelle. So he'll have plenty of experiences.
God help him. God help him with that one in La Rochelle.
So, tell you what, just quickly, what was he like to play in the World Cup? Now, that's different.
Exactly. That question was asked as well, so go for it, William. Go for it. Wait. Sorry. The question is, what role is he likely to play in the World Cup? Sorry. Yeah.
The thing about it is, the England team, by and large, is actually beautifully poised because whilst it has quite a lot of caps now, and has actually had the benefit of playing actually quite a lot of time together considering injuries, they're all really quite young still. There are no real veterans. Maybe Hartley's close, but I'm sure he's younger than, say, Rory Best as a direct positional example. Ford is still young. Lazowski is young. You're talking sort of early 20s. Farrell is really young for one of the world's best players. So that's three potential choices, all of whom we likely starters ahead of him, who aren't really going anywhere. There's not going to be a phasing out. He's going to have to get in there and force his way in. And without a Nines tour, there aren't really a couple of internationals where he can pop his name up. So I couldn't necessarily see him go to South Africa, is what I'm saying. And I don't know who's set for the autumn fixtures, but if one of them is New Zealand, another one is almost certainly a rugby championship nation, then it would be difficult. However, season after, I can see him doing it, especially if Harlequin's club fortunes turn around. So I'd say he'd travel and be benched.
I could see Marcus Smith making the tour down to South Africa. I'm not sure how much or if he'd feature at all in the tests. I mean, maybe he'll get a bench appearance in the third test for 10 minutes if it's already 1-2-0. But I just think if Jones is going to have him in the World Cup, as much as it is good to have a fresh face who's not been in the squad too much, you can't just throw him into that tournament untested. I have a feeling he probably won't feature this summer, and maybe he'll play against Japan in the following internationals the week after the All Blacks, and then maybe start popping his head in the 2019 Six Nations, and get 2 or 3 appearances in that tournament prior to the Japan World Cup in 2019.
Yeah, like even just thinking ahead to the 2019 Six Nations, I mean, he's got so much development, to be had now, and in the future before that Six Nations next year. It'll be a different player, hopefully in a positive way, by that time, and he could maybe be bringing pressure on Ford and Farrell. To get a bench place, against other centres and everything. So, I think people just need to chill out with Smith. He seems to have all the talent, but he's only 18. Let the kid develop.
It's so hard not to get excited about Marcus Smith, isn't it? It's you see the way he plays, and at the moment, when you look at the form he's in compared to England current starter George Ford, you're thinking, oh my word, have we found have we found the Danny Cipriani who isn't going to go downhill? And then you start thinking, oh my God, he's going to, he could step in and become 100 capper by the time he's 26. And it's so hard not to get.
The hype train is has definitely started. It's I believe it's deserved hype. The stuff I see him do, and he's so effortless in it. It reminds me of it. This is going to be a big comment, but it does remind me of young Carter. How effortless, you randomly switch, in a second, and then change play, kick off his left boot, weak at foot, 30 meters across the pitch, straight into someone's hands for a cross kick. Just stuff like that. It's effortless and always seems to go to hand, and he nails any kick or pass. The skills he's got, he's already seems to be a master at executing them. And he's only 18, so young. And he also makes me think, what am I doing with my life? Yeah, honestly.
I'm about to start. You guys, I think you're a couple of years younger than me, you guys. So a couple of years ago, when I started seeing England internationals younger than me, I've learnt to block that out of my mind.
Yeah, I think I'm still. No. Tom Curry ruined it for me. He ruined it for me. He was 18 and I was 19. I said, "How dare you?" Anyway, I think that's. We have got one more question before we move on. What potential law changes could reduce injuries? Okay, my answer to that is none. It's it's rugby. No, have we got any serious answers for that or not?
Not particularly. I think they've made so many law changes recently. I think
it's soft as it is for me. It's soft as it is. It's like you turn him like horizontal, and they land him on his back and tap it, give him a nice hug at the end of it. It's like, oh my, well, that's a red card, 10-match ban. It's like, really?
The only law change I'd be thinking of is just thinking back to the Jamie Roberts hit on the aforementioned Francis. In the way that when he tackled him, his arms, everything were around the chest, but it was head-to-head contact in the same way that Sam Cane was with Henshaw a couple of years ago now. It's I think maybe you could start penalising people a bit more for head contact. You could say, no, he was at the right height, it's just a rugby collision. But I think if you start actually penalising situations like that, that's the only way you could make rugby safer. And actually, I think that would probably be a bit more prudent than penalising all these seatbelt tackles.
Yeah, I agree. Because look, if you're tackling guys like 5'8" and then he slides down and you hit him across the head or whatever, that's a part of the game, I don't want to see games ruined and people be given red cards or yellow cards for it. When it's clearly the guy's aim isn't to take his head off and hurt him. But I understand for safety and wanting the sport to continue to have a prosperous future. You're gonna have to implement these rules, because I've so many parents, especially I speak to, down South England, that are very, they want their sons or daughters to be playing football or even hockey, because they're just worried about rugby. Especially with the concussion at the moment in it. So I guess if you're with the RFU and stuff, you want to implement these rules just to stop people being scared about that their sons or daughters getting concussion and everything that's linked with that. So it's hard, but you want to go to that. You want to go that way to include people playing the sport still. But then it's hard because the other side of it is it's Rugby Union, for goodness sake. People are going to get hurt. It's grown men running at each other flat out and basically attacking each other. Really, isn't it? What do you expect? So I don't know. I wish it could be sort of done in common sense. But I don't know. It's a real tough one. For me, it's sort of just, I guess, anything near the head, I believe people should be penalised for and should be dealt with, maybe even if it's yellow cards. I don't like saying that, but the way concussion's going, I believe that should happen. As you said, with the seatbelt tackles and all that stuff, where the arm slides up and hits the head, I feel that's really unfair. Some of those, and it ruins matches when they get yellow or red cards.
I mean, what's at the moment is a lot of these seatbelt tackles. You're getting a penalty when you've gone nowhere near the neck. You've barely
shoulder. Well, the Tungalangi. I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt because when Tungalangi got cited the other week, I questioned Rugby Union. I really did because for me that's a fine tackle. I see that all the time. How could he even be cited for it? It completely bemused me. I'm just like, who actually said, Tungalangi's done a nice tackle there, shoulder height. Oh, he's sort of fallen over his head afterwards, because he's got like 3 20-stone men pushing him. I honestly don't understand how that was even cited. I mean, thankfully nothing came of it, but as you say, Ali, with the seatbelt tackles, it's like, most of the time, at the moment, it's even shoulders and the blown penalties for it. So,
there's one particularly frustrating aspect at the moment for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love rugby for, the physicality. And it's part parcel. These guys running flat out, and you got to nail them in a second, and they wrap around the shoulders, and you have a seatbelt tackle. It's like, penalty. Like, what? Okay, sorry, in that split second I've got, you want me to... Oh, yes, I'll just get my head in that position, perfect technique every time. No, that's not life. It's not the way rugby is, Anyway, rant over there. William, you got anything to add to that? I sort of went on the crazy one there. I don't know.
No, well, sound good. It's very difficult because the main reason for more injuries is the fact that players... have far more muscle mass. They are far bigger and they are far harder than they were, let's say, 5 and especially 10 years ago. The game's been professional for 20 years. It happens to be a coincidence that athletes have never been as fit as they are now. In all sports, especially contact sports, this current generation of athlete is the fittest there's ever been in human history. Because humans are the fittest they've ever been in human history. So putting two together, we're hitting each other with far more force. Far more of that force is muscle. You can train so much harder with social conditioning. It's difficult to avoid that. If you want to make a law change to prevent attrition due to injury, you have to do it around the tackle and the clear out area. How you do that exactly without fundamentally altering the game is very tricky, but the clear out and the tackle contact are clearly where this is happening.
Yeah, that's a great point. I can't believe I didn't even think of that. Because I've just even like I remember watching 2011 World Cup. And if you watch the 2015 one, that's only 4 years in between. But you look at all the sides. Even in that 4 years, they got far bigger. Build, physique wise. And as William says, you put that together. There's more injuries going to happen. People are bigger, faster, stronger.
Should also add, people seem to forget we recover much faster too, because we've never been able to treat injuries as effectively. So there is a sort of yang to the yin. Yes, we're getting more injuries, but also the rehabilitation is miles more effective. You're seeing players come back from injuries that might have ended careers. You're seeing players, I know I'm being vague, but I'm sure we'll find examples. You're also seeing players come back from injuries that might have taken a year. You're doing it in about half that. Leg breaks used to end the season. Now you've got players coming back sort of before playoffs. Obviously, I think because of the timing and the high-profile nature of the players getting injured, I think we're worrying a lot, and obviously, it's a concern because I don't think it's totally sustainable. But again, the players are also coming back quicker than ever. I mean, Vunipola and Itoje are training, or are meant to be training, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Itoje need a greatest jaw? I mean, the injury to Vunipola was serious. This is what I mean, and it was in the internationals. I know, of course, you might say only November. It's still only weeks. So, whilst it's a worrying problem, technology and science are probably also going to be part of the solution. If anybody wants a bright note.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's hard because I can be devil's advocate and say, oh, it's fine. These guys are breaking their bodies, but they can come back again and again and again and again before you know they've broken every bone in their body.
What's the thing? I think it's not as such that the medical side of things is all of a sudden taking leaps and bounds in what they know. It's more that again, like you said, there is more pressure, so players are having to come back sooner because they're getting paid a certain amount. And coaches and owners are saying, right, we need to get them back by this time. But what worries me, as they are coming back so much faster, like you see how fast Maro Itoje and Billy Vunipola come back, now and also before. It worries me the knock-on effect that's going to have by the time these guys are 28, 29, when they should be, around their peak. I'm worried, are they going to be, tailing off significantly because their bodies have been through so much. Now, the medical staff there is a lot of money in getting the right treatment straight away and having the most effective rehab. But I worry sometimes, it's great, you can get them back this fast, but personally, I'm not convinced it's 100% the healthiest option for them, and we could well see them, missing maybe a year or two at the end of their careers that we would have seen them having otherwise.
Yeah, and adding to that, like imagine Billy Vunipola's body, or I don't know, anyone who's had a serious amount of injuries. A great guy to ask would be Johnny Wilkinson. Let's see how he is at age 50 years old. Especially these guys today, though, where they've played their whole careers at this very physical game, the size of everyone now. I believe that's part parcel with playing rugby union, though. But it'd be interesting to see how this generation are at the age of 50. Because I know semi-pro players, I go to my local gym with, and they, some of the operations they've had to have just through playing rugby for 20 years is unbelievable. But then again, they probably won't get in the world-class treatment with their injuries that Maro Itoje's and Billy Vunipola's had. So it's a real tough one. I think I'm just going to end with it with it's a part of the game. One of the negative sides of the game. But yeah, it's tough because you got to take care of the players as well.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think England as a country, and actually not just England, other nations, I think we need to take a leaf a little bit more out of the All Blacks book of letting players have sabbaticals. I think Ireland are the next closest country. They are very good at handling their players. You look at Sean O'Brien, Johnny Sexton, and Rory Best. The IRFU do well to limit how much they play. I think English Union should start looking at that as well. I don't think there's any players right now that necessarily need it, but maybe saying to a player, we would like you, approaching them and saying we would like you to have a year off, as opposed to the player asking. I think we need to start looking into that a little bit more.
I totally agree. There is a core bunch of players I feel with England that have played a heck of a lot of rugby the last year or two. And what's the worst thing? I'm now going back on myself because I said I love the Viva Premiership for them playing full strength teams week in week out. But there's a certain bunch of guys who play massive amounts of high class rugby, which must take it out of them. And maybe giving them a back seat for a few games for their clubs wouldn't do any harm, and a positive will come out of it. Well, some guy will get a chance then to showcase his talent for his club. Then, and it can lead to player development, like you've seen with Leinster. So that'd be an interesting avenue to go down. I feel until they really need it to happen, I don't think it will. But it seems to work for Ireland, doesn't it?
It does work well. I mean, if you're to name names, personally, I'd like to see, after 2019, I'd like to see Billy Vunipola get a good 6 months off, maybe Maro Itoje as well. Just I think that would be the best thing for them as a person. And actually, I think for England, I think it would be in the long run, I think it would be the best thing. I mean, in all likeliness, let's be honest, without getting too far into the subject, because I get too excited, I can see Maro Itoje being an England captain for a long time. And I think giving him 6 months after 2019, is the best thing to make sure he can keep going for that extra 2 or 3 years. I reckon personally you get up to a maximum of another 4 years out of a player if you let them have an entire 6 months off of playing rugby. The amount of benefits the soft tissues can get from just doing the regular fitness stuff can be huge if you've had an extended period of time under that much punishment. I think it can be massive for players. Equally, it could make a difference, but you don't know unless you try.
Exactly. It'll be very interesting to see how David Pocock plays and is when he returns to the Australian setup, because he's been on a year. They say he's been on a year sabbatical, but he's been playing rugby for Japan. Like, I've been following him on Instagram.
He's been on a Philly Maibanki sabbatical, as I understand, getting those ballots.
Yeah, the South Africans enjoyed that as well. Jack Fareed did the same, and then realised, well, this is a lot easier than Super Rugby, and I'm earning a lot more. I think I'll just stay here. And then
the lifestyle as well, isn't it? I think it's almost like an extended holiday, I suppose, isn't it, as well?
That's true, and you're being paid more than you're being paid before. So, obviously, Jack, I missed you in the 2015 World Cup, but whatever, you did what's best for you.
Pocock is another player that excites me to talk about and think about. I'm looking forward to seeing him hopefully back to his best. There's no flanker more satisfying to watch than Pocock when it comes to the breakdown.
Oh, I agree. Oh, Malcolm Marks is very satisfying now as well. I know he's not a flanker.
He is.
But I think he won the most turnovers in Test rugby for 2017. I might be wrong there, but I think he did. I think he got like 22. Actually, that's a crazy amount. I hope that's wrong. If that's a stat that I remember. So I hope that's wrong, because if he's got that, that's incredible for a hooker.
If you say it with confidence, it's true. Just stick with it.
Yeah, it's 22, guys. Now you're going to Google it, and it's probably wrong. But he definitely got the most turnovers in World Rugby for 2017 out of the major Test teams. Anyway, should we move on to the Premiership? And what the heck is going on with Exeter Tigers? Someone go.
I'm going to get stuck in here. Sorry, William.
No, you go. He's ready.
I'm ready for this. So, Tigers, geez. The big problem personally for them is their forward pack is not what it used to be. That was the thing you thought of when it came to Leicester, was a really gnarly, really aggressive pack that no matter what, even on their bad days, would just get over the gain line physically. They would never really. It was very rare you'd see them get less than parity. Whereas at the moment, parity would be a welcome change for them, the way they've been hammered up front. The front row is great. The scrum, you can't fault the scrum, but the line out has been an issue at times. And I think the physicality from the back five is an issue at the moment. I think the back row balance is not right. The second rows just aren't effective. I don't know why. I mean, Mike Williams at one point was touted to be in England 7. Graham Kitchener, Brad Thorne said if he was in New Zealand, he could have been an All Black, but they're just not showing that at the moment. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's a hunger thing. Maybe they need some sort of massive motivation to get them in there again, but the physicality isn't there, and something needs to change. And I think the rumoured signing of Will Spencer from Worcester could be huge for them. Their backline is, it's amazing. You look at Youngs, Ford, Tamua, Tuilangi, Vianu and May, when everyone's fit. They've got a crazy, crazy good backline. But the problem with Youngs and Ford is when their pack are going backwards, their quality drops a lot more than probably most other international halfbacks in world rugby at the moment. And the Leicester pack just isn't giving them that front foot ball. It's not aggressive enough. And it's the best thing they can do that I can see at the moment is change that back for London Irish this weekend and try and get some momentum going for when they're back in the Premiership after the 2 rounds of Europe.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a lot to take in.
No, I've really got nothing to add to that. The pack just isn't giving that amazing backline front ball, is it? Front foot ball. And if you don't get any front foot ball, it's pretty tough for the halfbacks, even if you are. And I agree with your point there. Ford can sort of, I don't want to say melt because that's not very nice, but he does find it difficult, like any fly half would, when the pack's going backwards and the team's going backwards to formulate any good kicking or decision making. So yeah, there needs to, I'm a big. They got the front row. I think is as good as anyone's really, but it's the I agree. It's the sort of that 5, the locks and the back row. I'm a big fan of Luke Hamilton actually, but as we said, one player isn't enough. I feel a lot.
But also,
go on.
You can't fault the work rate of the likes of Fitzgerald, Williams, and Hamilton, but I just don't think they're effective enough. It's not. It's just not working. I don't know. Like I said before, I don't know whether that's a buy-in thing, but it's not there. They're just not having the impact they should do. And I think everyone sort of maybe needs a little bit of a kick up the arse or just a change around, just to maybe drop some of the starters to really get them rolled up like Eddie Jones does with his squad. But like the quality players, and they're working really hard. You can't fault their willingness, but they're just not. They're not having any impact. It's just not working.
I agree. I also feel there's a huge responsibility to Califamoni to do the ball carrying, and it's very tough.
Yeah, he's not, is he? He's just not. They signed him as this big ball carrying, barnstorming 8, and he's not. He is. For me, he is a workman 6. He tackles his heart out. He clears out well, and he can carry. But he's not a barnstorming number 8. Exactly,
and but ball carriers, the locks. There's no one in that pack really, apart from Pelossa now and Muli Pola, who are great ball carriers.
Obviously, Genge is out at the moment, and who is
huge loss.
Is their back rower who can play across the whole back row? Really, really impressed me.
Is that Brendan O'Connor?
No, sorry, no, I'm talking about the front row, Greg Bateman.
Oh, okay.
He impresses me hugely, and I think actually the loss of him and Genge at the same time has been huge, and I think that's why Mulipola has come in starting at loose head. I think if you bring Bateman and Genge back in, they both provide huge amounts of go forward. I think that will make a significant difference. It will help them get parity, but they still need to sort out the rest of the impact from the pack to get ascendancy.
Yeah. There's. I think you nailed it though, William. Basically, there's a lot of good players there, but they're not affecting the game enough compared to what other players. I believe other opposition players are hurting them a lot more than Tigers are hurting them back, pack wise anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that frustrates me is, so you guys know, like you mentioned before, Brendan O'Connor. So I thought he was injured this whole time, the open side, the Kiwi. It turns out he's been fit. He's just not being selected because Matt O'Connor, the head coach, doesn't think there's much of a need these days for proper open sides because of the ruck law changes. But I think that's a bit crazy considering what else O'Connor offers around the park. I think that's part of the reason the back row balance is wrong there.
Yeah, I can even see like it's very harsh on Luke Hamilton, but maybe for back row balance, you take put Hamilton on the bench and start with Connor 7. See how that would go. Maybe it's a bit more variety there because I thought at the moment you got Califamoni work rate, Hamilton work rate, Williams work rate, Kitchener work rate. You get the gist, There's no one I see in that, the locks in the back row. I go, well, he's a hard man to stop when he gets going. There really isn't really isn't anyone like that there. I'm a huge Hamilton.
One person that is there at the moment that is really hard to stop is that Mapapalangi, the number 8/lock.
Yes,
think he should be stopping at 8 every game.
I agree with that. I agree. I was talking about like who regularly starts. Who seems to stop. But I agree. Yeah, they need more players like that. That's how I feel. I do feel that there's going to be a burden now on like Plotter now and Mully Polar now to do the ball carrying.
Plotter now hugely impressed me. I thought he's just come off the back of a really, really long Australian international season, and he came in against Exeter, and he was the only forward to match Exeter's pack. He was brilliant. I think he kind of really showed his teammates up.
Yeah, it shows the quality of the guy. That's why he's got a bunch of caps for Australia, and as long as how many you need? Is it 30 caps to play for Australia? To be a foreign player and play for Australia, I believe it's 30 caps, isn't it? Or is it Is it 60? There is a rule. There is a rule they have anyway. I don't know, but that's why he's Australia's hooker anyway. I believe he will be for the future now, especially now Moore's retired.
Well, yeah, I mean, Potter now he's no spring chicken.
He's not. But hookers, if you take care of yourself and keep playing well, Rory Best has shown. Best is a 35 now, I believe.
It's crazy. He doesn't look like retiring anytime soon either.
Exactly. So I believe as long as you work hard and you train well, I guess eat right and all that sort of stuff. Take care of yourself, basically. You can go on as long as you want. In the forwards anyway, because you don't, especially front row, you don't seem to need that extra yard of, gas or the burst of acceleration. That if backs lose their legs, then they're sort of, you're finished. That's what Hugo Monnier said when he retired with Harlequins. He said, I just didn't have that burst of pace anymore. And I'm a winger, so he felt a bit stuffed. Sarries, are they back now? Obviously they're back to winning ways, but do you believe that any sort of charge towards Exeter now, or Exeter are 9-10 points clear in the table? 10 points clear. I guess it doesn't really matter for them, does it? Really, especially with the system, the way Viva works. But they're definitely going to want to have a home semi-final.
I'll let William take this away because I kind of jumped in and took the Leicester conversation away.
No, you jumped. No, I tell you what, you jumped into the great job. Exeter are 10 points clear, and they're probably, I'd say they're about 99% not for catching to top the table during the season. To be honest with you, I can't really see any fixtures where they're in immediate danger. They are yet to have Saracens yet to come back to Sandy Park, and I think they've not yet played Wasps. Those are sort of the only 2 or 3 I can really see bothering them. Not to mention their Six Nations record, or their record during international periods is pretty exemplary. They'll have a home semi-final, which means they're at least a 50% chance of getting to the final. You wouldn't make any team favourites to beat them unless they were going through a significant injury spot or a bad patch in form. And most of the squad is pretty healthy. Only Leinster have really sort of found the key to beating them fair and square, and even then they needed a bit of luck. Actually, I say a great deal of luck. So, yeah.
I think. What Leinster did is that they bought what no other Premiership side can really bring is a forward pack with 8 out of 8 internationals. That was an incredible Leinster pack, and no Premiership side can match that kind of that was of experience. So I don't think anyone else in the Premiership has the capability to do that.
It'd be interesting. Sarri's fully fit though. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
dead set to see Sarries fully fit, because the last time I saw the Sarries we saw at the end of last season, I might have said it was actually when they put away Northampton, by about 50 points. Just for comparison, Exeter put them, I think, about 20 points between, and Sarries put a figure of 40 on them. That was a truly remarkable performance. It was one of those performances that was so good. I think Paul Rees in The Guardian asked, and I think it was a fair question, about whether a Saracens side could win the Six Nations. Although, and I don't want to we can talk about this another time, perhaps like another podcast, and sort of fantasy rugby questions, but if a Sarri side can win the Six Nations, then surely about 5 or 6 others realistically could, right? But anyway, going back to Exeter, only Leinster have managed to do the one thing which exposes their Achilles heel. Exeter have one Achilles heel. It is also a greater strength, sort of like playing the battle boss in a simulation game. You've got to beat loads of villains. It's their back row. Leinster, I think, are the only side in about, it's like 5-6 months. I don't count Gloucester. I think Gloucester managed to do it for pace. The only side in about 5 months I've seen get to and stop that back row, which is incredible. Again, the fact they had to choose to do it, as Ali says, was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I think very few sides in Europe probably can even aspire seriously to do that. And even then, they were 2 hellishly hard-fought victories, which is what life at the top is like. But I can't see a Premiership side certainly mustering up either the fit players to do it or the execution. And I think they'll probably win the regular season by about 7-8 points and get to the final, because I don't know who's going to be able to stop them. The one thing I'd fear is if Saracens got knocked out of Europe. Because that's quite a lot of time to plot an assault course for second place and meet them in the final. Presumably, but apart from that, I don't really think anything's there to bother them, because they just the consistency is just incredible. And you know how they're going to play, and you can't stop them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You're right. I don't really see anyone can stop them. They just get so many try bonus points as well. They're so good at scoring tries. They've got 2 more try bonus points than Wasps, and we know how famed Wasps are scoring tries.
Do you want a stat that will really freak you out?
Yeah.
Out of the last 55 points available to them, Exeter have won 53. They're 2 points out of the last 55 available to them.
That doesn't surprise me. They do well. I mean, the thing with that is because they really back themselves to go for the try, to go for the corner, and that's a little bit of what lost them. That lost them the Leinster games was, they wouldn't go for the post. They kept going corner, and when they weren't coming up with the tries, they didn't really adapt and kick the sticks enough.
Yeah, there's some good points there. I don't think anyone's really gonna catch. I'd bet a lot of money on Exeter. On no one catching Exeter. I think Saracens on their day can beat them. And as William says, if the Saracens get knocked out of Europe, they've got a lot of time to focus solely on the Prem, which could be worrying news for Chiefs. But I think the real battle is for the top 4. And Gloucester have got a nice cushion there. I think we must commend Gloucester really, because they've been that sort of 9th place, 10th place team now for the last I don't know how many years, and they've put themselves in a very decent position this year to actually get in a first Premiership semi-final in a long time.
It's nice to see, and they're doing it really, really nicely as well. Some really attractive rugby being played.
I'll tell you, the club officials don't really like people saying this, but a lot of this can be put down to the appointment of Johan Ackerman, who brought his son Ruan with him from the Lions in South Africa. In case anybody here doesn't watch Super Rugby and isn't familiar with it, the Lions have finished runner-up in the last 2 editions of Super Rugby, being beaten only by, I think it was the Hurricanes on both occasions. And for those who want some more background, the Hurricanes are the side that gives New Zealand a lot of players. You are talking barracks here for that level. So he transformed that club. Gloucester have put it down to a long-term project, but it's pretty clear that he's had some sort of influence there. There's a lot of confidence throughout the side. There is always a lot of handy youth around Kingston. That's got to be said. So it's not surprising that a very smart coach has brought the best out of them. And they were good against Sale. The pack really had to come through. They were being really bullied about a bit. Things were getting very tight. There wasn't a lot of space in the field, and they really drove well. And Billy 12 Trees, remember him? Kicked exceptionally. He kicked exceptionally to give them that win. But they're finding different ways to win now, Gloucester. And I should say, beat Exeter in the first, in the opening night. And they've had their ups and downs, but of all the teams in the Premiership, they've actually not had anybody taken away to England.
It's true. It's true.
And that's a big positive for them. Big positive for them in terms of the fact that, first of all, you missed out on the attrition. Secondly, of course, there are, I think, a couple of games around the Six Nations window. Certainly I think the fallow week, there might be club rugby. That's a huge advantage. Huge advantage. Obviously, you hope the fixture is as kind and you can be playing the likes of, I don't know, Saracens away on that weekend. But still, it's looking quite bright for them.
Yeah, I'm really happy with seeing Ben Vellicott at 9 as well at the moment. He seems a tremendous talent. It's serious pace and power from the guy as well. He's such a threat around the breakdown. Him and Billy Burns are hopefully building something there at 9 and 10. And the pack, I've been impressed with Ruan Ackerman as well. I think he's done a very good job this year. Ben Morgan's doing good work. Ludlow, and they have serious. They got depth now. I mean, Tom Marshall fullback's been playing well. They got Jason Woodward's on the bench, and I think I really rate him. I think he's a top player. And yeah, 12 Trees it did kick fantastically. And Charlie Sharples is absolute warrior of a player, and he made a fantastic line break against Sale. And this will be pretty miserable for people. Northampton, Malander obviously sacked. They're lying not so pretty in the Premiership at 10th place. Where does their season go from here? Is it just try their best? Obviously George North's out for a month now as well. He got injured against Quins. Quins, who are 7th themselves, not having a great season, put 50 points on them in Twickenham. You'd think that occasion would get the Saints up for it, for a competitive match. It didn't really. They didn't really compete. Where do they go from here, chaps?
It's a sticky one. It's a tough one. It's down to this, Alan Gaffney is the interim coach to see if he can spark enough of a revival to get something out of that playing squad. I mean, it's a seriously talented playing squad. They've got so much talent there, but I don't know whether it's the culture, I don't know whether it's the tactics. Something is just, completely wasted the talent they've had available to them. I'm finding it really tough to predict where they're going to go from here. I genuinely could see if Alan Gaffney does a good job, this side could skyrocket and all of a sudden get their stuff together. Equally, it could just go downhill, or it could just stagnate a little bit. They could get the odd wins and do enough to maybe take the conversation away from them, but it's so hard to predict.
Anything to add, William?
Ali sums up well. I just think the only thing that their new manager, I'll use the technical term of new head coach, who I believe is called Alan Gaffney. Let me double check that. Needs to do is win. They need a win from somewhere, and everything will change with that. It is Alan Gaffney, fantastic. Everything will change regarding that. They need just to win. Remember what it feels like, because it stops the cycling, it stops the rot. Also, let's be honest, we know, of course, the professionals do have to keep a level of separation, of course, of things they hear in the media and on podcasts like this one, but they know how long their winning run has been in the Premiership, and they'll know that they're losing runs, They'll also know they haven't run more than run 13. Once they get over the line, it becomes a bit easier for the fans to speak up. Everybody can look forward, and I think that's the thing they have to do. There can't be sort of too much self-reflection and self-pity, because they can still potentially, if they sort themselves out, maybe have a squeak at something like getting European rugby again, which might be a long way. I mean, I heard the top 4 in Band probably won't happen because the gap's too big.
They've not got the kindness of runnings coming up now to try and find some form either.
It's a bad time for Gloucester to be coming. A real bad time.
Well, this is their next few games: Gloucester, Claremont, Saracens, Sale, Harlequins, Borough.
I mean, that Champions Cup must be demoralising for them now. They're like, oh, here we go. I know we've been knocked out already. Just knock me out again. It's like...
If you're trying to find some form, Claremont and Saracens are not the side you want to play.
Yeah.
And Saracens are going to be going for it as well, potentially. My gosh.
Yeah.
And Gloucester... I think they got Gloucester at home next, haven't they?
Yeah, it's Gloucester at home.
But that's not an easy game. And Gloucester, they got confidence at the moment as well. That's a very tough match. And the Gloucester pack will be brutal as well against the Saints pack, which is low on confidence. So they pull a win out of the bag there, then I can see it, as William said, skyrocketing. But it's a very tough ask. Very tough ask. And we won't cover London Irish because obviously we talked about them earlier with the Q&A we had. I believe Falcons deserve a little bit of a mention, for their work this year. I know they're 5th, which is fantastic, to be 5th at New Year. But obviously Tigers are in 9th, 4 places below them, and they're only 4 points behind them. So it just shows that the traffic from sort of 5th to 9th is so tight, and the margins are so tight. That they get, so.
I've got a lot of love for Newcastle. I predicted at the beginning of this season, in one of my articles, they'd finish in 6th place and definitely get some Champions Cup rugby next season. They remind me a little bit of Exeter in a way that they've not got loads of big names. They've kind of pieced the team together, but it's similar to Exeter in the opposite way. Exeter used a lot of homegrown boys, whereas Dean Richards kind of bought in and pieced together this kind of mismatch bunch. It's full of Scottish props and Tongan and Scottish and all sorts of varying nationalities, and it's really worked very, very nicely. You look at the like of Chris Harris, 3 years ago, you said that name, a lot of fans have had to, give him a Google to double check who he was. Whereas now he's one of, if not the form 13 in the Premiership. He's strong, he's quick, he's getting really stuck into the breakdown. They've got so many players that they're doing they're almost, calling them bit part players a little bit, doesn't quite do them justice, but they're all just doing their bit and producing some seriously impressive results.
They are, and the Kingston Park has become a real fortress. It's a very tough place to go and get a win now. Even if you played really well. Quinn's 2-3 weeks ago played really well and still lost 11-10. Very tight match that was. Sort of showing what a tough place it is to go now. And Richards has done a great job there. They've got deceptive squad depth as well. And the 10, is it Willis? He's first choice 10, Willis, yeah.
Oh, no, at the moment, first choice is Toby Flood.
It's weird. It's very weird though. The variation. It's very because Willis played in the he's played a bunch of games too. I know Flood started against I know Flood started against who they just play and win against.
London Irish.
London Irish away.
The thing is, I know Toby Flood wasn't fit and available for most of the start of the season, so they were going for a mixture of Joel Hodgson and Craig Willis. Whereas now it does seem that Toby Flood is their first choice 10. Although I'm not convinced personally.
Which is what you would think. That's what I guess at the beginning of the season if he was fully fit. But Willis he's played fantastic when he has played. I think he has the sort of biggest attacking edge out of the three. Even though I was a huge fan of Flood, but I don't think Toulouse has done any favours to his career. I mean, it might have to his bank account, but
yeah, it's tan.
Yeah, it's tan. That's it. It's tan.
Really random one. I was in Toulouse this morning and I was looking at it. I was expecting this really nice, attractive city. I was flying over. It was like, ooh, okay, apartment blocks. That's cool.
Really, not impressed, Ali.
Well, I mean, I was just surprised. I think of you think of these French cities, and I thought it would be a stunning place, but I don't know. Maybe I saw the wrong parts of it. But that's a really random thing. We'll move on to more rugby.
No, it's not. It's not. It's like, so Toby Flood, why did you go from Leicester to Toulouse? Oh, okay. To be fair, he was at Leicester. No, I'm joking. Final discussion, and I think we'll wrap it up. I'm afraid I don't think we've got time for Pro 14 French discussion. We are a month away from the Six Nations. Cheer, yay! Can't wait for that. Guys, Bath. What is? They're playing so much better in the Champions Cup than they are in the Prem. They're showing more consistency in that anyway. They got blitzed by Wasps.
To be fair, that happens to a lot of teams. Most of the times when Wasps field a fully fit side in England, they're able to get through teams, especially given that Bath play a very similar style of rugby. It's sort of like a team going head to head with a Barcelona or a Real Madrid in an end-to-end game. The gaps come naturally in players, and Wasps just love that. I think there were a couple of key difference makers, namely LaRue, Cipriani, and I've had to pick one of the forwards, Launchbury. And that's what happened with regards to the back. I just think Wasps are better. I don't think I'd worry about that. In terms of Champions Cup Premiership difference, I wouldn't be losing any sleep past Todd Blackadder just yet. Not just yet.
Oh, no. I wasn't talking about losing any sleep, but I felt that the way they defended, they gave a lot of room to these guys who will just kill you if you give them that room. I mean, LaRue made it for himself with that world-class offload to try for Marcus Watson, if I'm correct.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. I find that stuff is sort of undefendable sometimes, and Cipriani was fantastic, and so was, again, I think me and Ali need to make a fan club of Dan Robson. Such a huge fan of the man. But yeah, I don't know. I felt. I guess if you're Bath with the talent they have in their backline, you sort of think, you know what, we can match most teams. Let's go head to head with them. And they battled well near the end of the game to come back and make the scoreline, respectable. I don't know. I felt it was very open for the players Wasps have, like Christian Wade and stuff, and LaRue, Cipriani. These guys they love open field. And Dion, I thought Dion scored a good try. I thought he played quite well as well, actually.
Yeah, he seemed to have struggled to hit his straps within the Wasps ranks earlier this season, but he's coming through quite nicely now.
He is. He's coming through very nicely, actually. Yeah. I don't know. I think. It's good seeing Carl Eastman back. That was who his partner was. Yeah, I thought there was nice balance in that midfield, actually. With Danny at 10 as well. I thought that was a very entertaining match, actually. Shout out to Alan Brew as well, who has completely given me egg in the face because I did not think he had it in him to play a full season with Bath on the wing. But he's had a really great season. He's been great at the champion. It seems to terrorise Tuisova all the time in the Champions Cup as well. Has anyone else got anything to add then on the Aviva, or are we done there?
No, done there pretty much. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's first game of the weekend.
Yes,
6 ways.
Yes, we should definitely look ahead. That'll be a very interesting fixture.
Just a very quick hat tip to Ryan Mills, the inside centre at Worcester. I think he's maybe going under the radar as one of the top performers in the Premiership at the moment. He is making Worcester tick. He's brilliant at 12.
He is. You also, I think William's just about to mention him. Like Josh Adams as well. That's the thing. There's players like that. I feel Wales should have a look at.
They might be forced into it. Another injury, they might be forced into it. I can see it happening.
Yeah, I'd imagine he's had a few voicemails from a couple of Welsh DORs recently.
Oh, definitely. If he plays like this till the end of the season, I can see a central contract's probably a bit much at this stage. But
what region do you think would suit him best? I think Scarlets would probably suit him best, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dragons came calling for him because they're taking every other player in the world that's out of contract at the moment.
Well, the Dragons are trying to push their way into that sort of in front of if it's Blues, Ospreys, or Scarlets, they're trying to be competing with them and be on the same level as those three. I'm
very actually quite excited to see how Dragons' team fares next year with all the names they're bringing in.
Hopefully they sign George North as well. They get him playing Swiss rugby. Moriarty's a great signing.
Well, apparently George North is a done deal. It's just waiting for the right time to announce it.
I hope that's true because it'd be great if they signed him. But the thing is, they have got at 13, they've already got Tyler Morgan. So I don't, he is a good player and he's usually in the squads as well. He just has injury problems, quite a lot. So I don't know if they would sign Josh Adams because that would probably be 2 13s then, which would be gone in the international period. You would think anyway.
I think Josh Adams would be on the wing, wouldn't he?
Oh gosh, sorry, I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy with 13s at the moment. Yeah. So
they'd have Helen Amos, George North.
That's what. Yeah, exactly.
And, I'm not missing a winger there, am I?
No, because you're not. If they do sign, if North is confirmed, then that's what there's a huge fight there for. There's 3 wingers which are effectively going to be, you think are going to be in the Wales squad at some stage, and they're all playing for Dragons. So that's the balance there is I don't know, and then you got 3 guys who are potentially not going to be with you then when they're called up for Wales. So it'd be interesting to see where Dragons go about it. when the North signing is confirmed, I will then start to get excited about them. At the moment, I still don't think they've got enough quality to compete with the other three teams. But the fact of signing guys like Moriarty, it's exciting times for Newport, and I think the supporters deserve it, because at WRU really just had them as a backseat team, while the other three teams seem to be in the front.
We've got Gavin Henson. That's all they need. Big Gav.
Big Gav. There's fantastic parody account on Twitter with Big Gav. I think it's Big Gavin Henson. I don't know. It's a lot of love. He's playing great. The guy's like 35, 36 now. He's still playing some very decent rugby. He's a talented player.
35. Yeah, he's doing well.
He's 35, is he? Yeah, exactly. Well, we would cover Pro 14 and Top 14 and other stuff, but look, Six Nations a month away, and we're all very, very excited. We'll get even started on that now because there's so much to discuss there, but that's coming. Check out unirugby.co.uk. I'm not going to do a roundup on the results or the table because there's been no results since the last podcast. So it was all the same because of fixtures have been delayed, New Year and Christmas and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, thanks to William and Ali. Been excellent as always.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening.
Yep, and well, there we go, I guess. Goodbye. Thanks for listening, chaps. And ladies, if there is any ladies, I don't know. Goodbye.